Today on Locked On Red Wings, Dylan Larkin scores twice to complete an incredible comeback.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, and that includes, of course, on YouTube. Scotty, the Detroit Red Wings, they're on a roll right now. A game that I thought, we talked about it yesterday, the most daunting team they've played all season long in the Dallas Stars. Just 5-on-5 shooting percentage, 5-on-5 save percentage, best special teams in the league. When you look at their power play and their penalty kill, both in the top 5, just incredible. Pretty much every way you slice it. And the Red Wings walk out of LCA with a 3-2 victory in overtime. Just an incredible amount of resilience from this hockey team in this hockey game. And we will talk about everything that went right and everything that went wrong in this one. But as of Christmas break, the Detroit Red Wings stand alone in the Atlantic Division with 47 points and are tied for first in the Eastern Conference.
And their last 3 wins are Washington, Dallas, dude.
With Carolina on the docket next on Friday or Saturday. So.
Insane. And like this is actually I'm glad that I brought this up, okay? Because this is actually exactly the point that we have been making on this show for seasons about the schedule and how people love to look at the schedule and go, where do you find wins? Like, oh, we could have a good stretch this stretch because like we don't play good teams. And then you can afford to lose games, again, in like the tough stretch we have at this part in the calendar because like we play really good teams. Good teams don't give a flying, flapping fudge, okay? They don't. Like, good teams beat anybody who's in front of them. That's the whole point. That there is no, we have to watch the schedule and see, when we can stockpile wins so that we can afford to lose games later. That is irrelevant. That is not something that ever crosses the mind of actual good competitive teams in sports. Like that is ridiculous. You go out and you beat and you play the team in front of you, and they have gone through and still are in the midst of, as you mentioned, Carolina's next, a gauntlet of a last, handful of games, and they've won all of them, dude. And like, obviously they're not going to win out. They're going to lose games at some point the rest of the season, but like the whole point of that is what we're seeing right now, which is like no one's talking about the schedule. No one cares because they're winning games. And that is what good teams do. So sorry to get on my soapbox to start off the show, but I'm amped, man. That was an incredible game.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Scotty, 100% correct on that one. Had to sneak that in there before I got too far in there.
Of course, yeah.
You're right. Good teams beat good teams, right? And I'll call myself out on this one. I was talking to a friend of mine a little earlier today after the win, and I was saying, like, this felt like a scheduled loss to me because everything we talked about, like Dallas is a freight train right now, and they were coming to Detroit. And by all means, they were a really good hockey team. Like, they were as advertised in this game. And when you talk about storylines with this team in this hockey game, it's the resiliency. And that's why the Red Wings won. Because the Dallas Stars were as advertised. Detroit came out of the gate, and they played great hockey the first period. I thought they were the better team of the two for the first 20 minutes. They came away with a 1-0 lead thanks to a great play from Michael Rasmussen to protect the puck, finding James Van Riemsdyk out in the net front, showing his nice hands in tight to throw it over the shoulder of DeSmith. Give the Red Wings a 1-0 lead. They played great, aggressive forecheck, all throughout the first 20 minutes. Winning those puck battles, not giving Dallas the space, and having quite a few opportunities of their own to even expand on that lead, and just missing those opportunities. But from period 2 on, And McClellan talked a little bit about it in the postgame. The Dallas Stars are kind of waiting. They were waiting for the Detroit Red Wings to make a mistake because, and I'll even give the broadcast credit, they talked about it in the second intermission, is the Red Wings played perfect hockey through the first 20 minutes. But that's the problem. You have to play perfect hockey against the Dallas Stars.
We talked about that in the preview, right? They don't need shots to score.
Right.
Like that's literally like they're so good, right? That's a compliment, not a slight. Like they are so good that they don't need a flurry. They don't need the ice to be tilted to get back into a game. They don't need a flurry of opportunities. They need 2 chances, and they can score 2 goals in very short order. And obviously that happened, and they took a lead there before the Wings came back.
Right. Red Wings made a mistake, took a penalty, and it was the second penalty, actually, because the Red Wings killed off the first one. Rupe Hintz tied it up, and then with less than a minute left in the second period, DeBrincat turns the puck over the neutral zone. And this was after large swaths of time in the offensive zone, or I guess the Red Wings defensive zone, where the Dallas Stars were unrelenting with their cycling and unrelenting with their pressure, and the third pair kept getting trapped out there. The third pair played a lot of minutes in this game, and it's not because they were trusted with those minutes. Bernard Docker and Albert Johansson could not get off the ice. They were hemmed in, and the forwards aren't helping. The forwards
That's right.
were not able to get the puck out of the zone. But
I forgot about the one shift especially. Yeah, that was
they had 3
brutal.
shifts in this game. That was a minute 50, 2:30, and I think 3:30 in that game because they couldn't get the puck out of the defensive zone.
That was the one in the second period was especially tough.
And I say all this not to rag on a team that just made a comeback, but to showcase how, despite that, and 3 bad penalties in the third period that did lead to, at one point, you going to a deficit 3-2 because JVR took a bad penalty in the third period. I say all this to showcase the resiliency this team has this season that they had not had last year. This is the anniversary, Scotty. This day, the 24th, is the anniversary of the last game Derek Lalonde coached in Detroit. And in the 365 days since, the Detroit Red Wings have turned a complete 180. And they're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's the one biggest growth spot for them this season has been that mental resiliency. It's something that Todd McClellan has harped on all last year, harped on early in this season, and even mentioned in the postgame today that they got down twice in the second, once in the second, once in the third, and they didn't let it knock them out of that, knock them out of the game. They continued to play, and I thought they had a better third period, although I think Dallas still carried most of the play. And they battled back, scored 2 power play goals, forced overtime, and won it in OT, and maybe stole a little bit of this game. But that is the storyline to me, a very long-winded way of saying it's the resiliency this team displayed to take 2 points.
Yeah, 100%. The biggest storyline is easily like comeback win against one of the best teams in hockey. Like that's right. There's no denying that is, and I think to your point, the resiliency factor, if you will, is certainly the biggest factor, I guess, of a comeback like that. I mean, individually, obviously that kind of starts and ends, dare I say, with the captain Dylan Larkin, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but. Yeah, man. I don't know. We can just get into individual performances now. I don't have too much else to add. I think you're right. I think the biggest storyline is the comeback win. This is one of the, if not just the most fun, exciting, energetic win of the entire season. But I feel like we've said that after the last 3 wins. So it's just they're a wagon right now, man, and it is unbelievably exciting. It has been a long, long, long time since you've been able to look at the standings this late into the season and see Detroit where they're at.
If you had told me that the Red Wings put the Dallas Stars in the power play 5 times and you walked out that night with the victory, I'd have told you were a liar.
Yeah,
and you were trying to bait me into some kind of reaction. The Stars 5 power plays. We just talked about it yesterday, and the Red Wings, despite their own bad penalties, that JVR penalty, the Raymond penalty, back to back. The first one cost you. The Raymond penalty that was a cross-check behind the play right in front of the ref. they were able to win. Like, that's just the resiliency by the team in this game was incredible. But you're right. We'll talk about Dylan Larkin coming out of the break because, if you have a B plot in this game to follow, it's Dylan Larkin game-tying, game-winning goals. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching a game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Scotty, yesterday I was feeling myself a little bit. I ended up taking Phillip Rivers to throw 2 touchdowns in that game against the 49ers, and he did it. And that little $5 bet I made, it made me $17, all thanks to FanDuel. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
Phillip Rivers cannot move fast, but shout out Grandpa Phillip, man, the dog, absolute dog.
I was just like, he's gonna kind of fall into two passing TDs. Like, I just feel it. And he did.
Well, that's a pretty darn good feeling you got there.
Thanks. Thank you. There was a crazy anytime rushing TD for Phillip Rivers.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, you
bet a penny and you're a billionaire. Congratulations.
Well, I'm just thinking to myself, 4th and 1 on the goal line, like they just do a tush push, get him in. Like, there's a reality this could happen. He's a heavy boy now. So I mean, you just I'm like, no, I didn't do it. I stayed away. Scotty, the Dylan Larkin scored 2 goals in this hockey game. He scored the game-tying goal on that beautiful power play feed from James Van Riemsdyk through the legs of the defender, behind the back, between his own legs, to find Larkin backdoor, and then cuts across the middle, uses the defenseman as a screen in overtime, and wins it. They talked about it on the broadcast all night long. The emotional heartbeat of the franchise. A player who we talked about a lot earlier in the week. The scoring has not really been there for Dylan Larkin too much recently. So those 2 goals coming in this moment for Dylan Larkin, it just feels appropriate.
Yeah, it's I think it's a good reminder of why he gets paid what he does, why he got the contract he does, and why he gets to wear one of the most, prestigious captaincies in the NHL. It's he can go through droughts. He can, whatever happens, the ebbs and flows of the season. He dealt with injury stuff when he was younger, but this is a guy that ultimately I think when the team is metaphorically, back against the wall and needs somebody to come out on top, especially on the offensive end of the ice, I'm not sure there's anybody else I trust more or expect more to come through in moments like that. And the first goal, obviously Larkin finished the job. The pass of the season from JVR. I can't even articulate that. He was doing his thing. He was doing, JVR stuff. He was in front of the net. The puck landed on his blade, and he was trying to find something to do with it. No look in between the legs, right to Dylan Larkin for a goal, and then obviously the sealer later. Man, he's unreal. He's the captain for a reason. He's the leader of the team for a reason, and we should all be very thankful that he's a Detroit Red Wing.
100%. And on the JVR note too, that goal he scored in the first period was his 9th of the season. He's now tied for 4th on the team in goals with Emmett Finney, who also scored in this hockey game in a similar role, by the way, net front,
very much so,
burying the rebound on the power play. And he was only out there because JVR was missing time because he blocked a shot earlier from O'Sider that made him sting. So Yeah, JVR. It's actually funny. I was looking at his rates earlier. Let's see if I can't pull it back up
How many
again.
points does he have? Do you have that up?
Okay. Yeah, he's got 11 points, 9 goals, 2 assists. So goal scoring fiend.
Yeah.
What do you think James Van Riemsdyk's on pace for points wise, and how do you think that goals versus assists breaks down?
Well, okay. Well, the goals versus assists. What's he? I mean, I'm trying to think because he missed a couple of games earlier in the year. He might be on pace for like 30 goals.
So he can only play 67 max because
I thought time. Okay, we're prorating 267, not 82.
Right. The maximum amount of games he can play.
Sure.
He is on pace for 19 goals and 4 assists.
Hilarious.
And one of them was assist of the year. But
yeah, it's an unbelievable pass. And yeah, that 20, I guess that would put him probably closer to like 25, 27-ish if you were to prorate it to 82. That's can't ask for really much more than that. Like when you sign JVR and you know the role that he's going to be in, kind of, in that bottom six, isn't going to get too much ice time because that would just be ridiculous. Like he can't. Yeah, he has been exactly what this team needs in terms of depth production, right? Like we've been begging for depth scoring for the better part of 4 years together on this show, and obviously JVR doesn't single-handedly fix that. They need depth scoring from across the lineup, but it certainly helps with a guy that might hit 20 goals in less than 70 games just from being a pest in front of the net at 40. So
also the max games of 67, the math ain't mathing on that. That ESPN, I was just reading straight up the stat line for the projection from ESPN just now. It said 67 was his projected, but he's played 31. The Red Wings have played 38. He's only missed 7 games total.
Okay.
So where are they getting 67 from?
Maybe they're just expecting him to miss more time.
Right. Yeah.
He'll probably miss another game or two.
That's what I get for trusting ESPN's projection stats.
Yeah, ESPN is good for a lot of things, but box score is not my go-to.
But doesn't change the point that JVR has been as advertised for the Red Wings and kind of been. That was a signing that we were like, I wouldn't say we were down on it. We knew what JVR is. And
we wanted a top 6 guy, and they signed him. And then we were like, okay, well, like in a perfect world, sure. But then, as the offseason went along, it became more and more clear that he was not going to be that top 6 forward that we wanted. And so I think, maybe like expectations soured a little bit. But now, given like we know what his role is, he's certainly excelling at that.
I think it might have been the other way around. I think it was when they signed him, we knew he wasn't a top 6 player, but we were looking at the roster and going, he might have to be
we
the
certainly
top
did
winger.
That at one point. I, at least, certainly did do that at one point for sure.
Right. But he's been fantastic in the net front. So enough said about that. Emmett Finney obviously scored as well, something I mentioned earlier. It's really funny, too, and I won't bemoan the point because it's whatever. They won. They got points. But earlier, again, we talked about how the top line has not been scoring at 5-on-5 and hasn't been winning their minutes at 5-on-5. And I think it was the case again in this game when you look at their line as a whole. Yeah, they had a 40% shot attempt share at 5-on-5 in this game. But they're producing in every situation except for that. Larkin had a 3-on-3 goal. He had a power play goal. Raymond had 3 assists in this hockey game. Is now on pace for 92 points.
I was just gonna say he and they're all gonna be assists. Like
right.
He might have a 90 apple season. Like I don't know, man. It is something certainly to keep an eye out for. But they've also, as we mentioned, and like your top line has to produce like a top line against good teams' top lines, right? Like that's the whole point. But like they've also just gone through a gauntlet in terms of the caliber of top line they've been facing for the last week or so too. So, clearly, like this is we're splitting hairs here. This is a win. This is a great win, and like you mentioned, they produced in every other facet, but certainly something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I'm not going to bemoan the point because, they combined had 6 points in this hockey game. So like
Right.
it's one of those things where you don't complain where the points are coming from. They're producing, but it's just funny because it's just like just everything but 5-on-5.
Yeah.
But it was a great game. Larkin had 2 goals. Raymond had 3 assists in this hockey game. 2 on the power play, 1 at 3-on-3. Like they are your best players without a shadow of a doubt. They've just been a little unlucky maybe at 5-on-5. But
Yeah.
Scotty, we got to head to another break. When we return, I want to talk about John Gibson. So stay tuned for that in segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Scotty, John Gibson had an .864 save percentage in this game, making 19 saves and 22 shots against. It's a Dallas Stars team that you knew, right? We were talking about how they don't shoot the puck a ton, but when they do, they tend to find the back of the net, and that was the case in this game. And I think John Gibson, despite the save percentage, and I think his goal saved above expected was probably negative as well, I thought he had a much better game than the data suggests. His win in this one was the 8th straight win in his starts that he's gotten, which it's the longest win streak for a goalie for the Red Wings since Chris Osgood in 2007-2008. So again, pretty good year to be tying records with.
Interesting.
I think something good happened in that season.
Very interesting, yeah.
But I thought he played really well in this hockey game. He was tracking
great.
the puck great. The 3 goals that he allowed, I don't put any blame on him for. So, yeah, it's another notch in your belt, gaining that confidence with John Gibson in net, and the team in front of him probably gaining confidence with him between the pipes.
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic. And, you mentioned, you said it before we hit record, too, where it's like, his final save percentage may not look beautiful in this game, but I really thought that he looked really good. This was a performance where he made some really big saves in the third period. As you mentioned, none of the goals against I really think were due to him being like poor or lackluster in any way. Like I really think he was good, and honestly, I think at one point in the game, kind of late second period and third period, that he kind of kept them in it, and it honestly could have swung the other way, and he made some big stops to keep the score where it was at, which against a highly prolific, Stars team is certainly important in its own right.
Scotty, have you ever seen a team or a player rather get a primary assist while sitting on the bench?
Ooh, I can't say I recall a primary. I know it happens with secondaries every once in a blue moon, and it's always a funny thing. I can't say I recall a primary.
Well, that's what happened with Moritz Seider on the overtime goal. He gets the puck in the neutral zone, kind of does just a little drop off here to Dylan Larkin, goes on the bench for a change. Dylan Larkin walks into the offensive zone and scores. Moritz Seider's on the bench with the primary assist, having just changed. He had 2 assists in this hockey game, so I just wanted to bring that up too because he's producing. He had the secondary assist on the power play on Emmett Finney's goal as well.
People are actually starting to talk about him nationally, dude. Did you see Spit and Chicklets, had a big conversation with him that went viral that was talked about him and the Norris and whatnot, but he's really making his way into national hockey media. I saw who else, dude? I think it was NHL Network actually.
Everyone, dude.
Thing
There's
on
a
him
list
earlier too.
I mean, Dom Luszczyzna of The Athletic just put a piece out too.
Yeah.
Prashant Iyer. I mean, Prashant Iyer is a little bit more local for us here, but
Prashant is also just kind of the dog. So
he's a dog. Put a piece out about how not just the Norris, but maybe heart consideration, right? Because of how poor the Red Wings are when he doesn't play, when he's not on the ice.
You want to truly talk valuable player. It's certainly. I don't know, worth bringing up. He's incredible.
Right. Scotty, the Red Wings, this will be also a game preview episode too, because we will not have an episode for Thursday or Friday.
For the week, yeah.
Obvious reasons, right? We have Christmas Eve tonight, which Merry Christmas to all those who
American
celebrate
Christmas, as Brian
American
calls
Christmas. Red Wings are in first place in the division at American Christmas.
it. There
That's
you
an
go.
important benchmark.
It's the prophecy. It's the prophecy. We foretold this years ago. American. There's probably some people like, what are they talking about? It was just literally we kept you. This was 2 seasons ago, I think. Now we were talking about the what percentage of teams that are in the playoffs on American Thanksgiving end up making the postseason at the end of the year. It's whatever 70 whatever percent. And yeah, Brian misspoke and said American Christmas at one point. And I said, can you please explain American Christmas for everybody? And now we're here. Now they're in first place on American Christmas. It's a beautiful day.
It really is too. And again, Merry Christmas to everyone who listens, who celebrates. Happy holidays. Otherwise as well, we will not have an episode for the next 2 days to finish out the week because of obvious reasons.
Yeah. So we'll be back Monday.
We'll be back Monday. The Red Wings play the Carolina Hurricanes on the 27th, which is Saturday. That's the first day back from Christmas break and the start of the second half of the season. In all reality, the Red Wings have played 38 games. There's only about half the season left, a little over. So, Scotty, the Carolina Hurricanes, we went from one really, really good team to another really, really good team, just good in a different way with the Carolina Hurricanes, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, when we talked about the Stars, it was basically, just us talking about how they were good at everything. Carolina is incredibly deep, and I think that is where they get a lot of their offensive production and credit is, and they certainly have, like Seth Jarvis has 20 goals already. Shane Gostisbehere leads this team in assists. I'm going to cry. But like this is a team that is obviously very deep and has point production and goal scoring kind of top to bottom. And they're 5th in the NHL in goals for a game, which is kind of wild considering their style of play. That absolutely just suffocates shot attempts. Their goaltending this year actually has not been very good, which I think is like bottom 10 in the NHL, not like bottom of the league, but has not been maybe as good as we've seen in previous years. But this is still a team that can not only any line can give you, a goal or two. And on top of that, they just play that suffocating, defensive style. And so it's always a tough battle.
The Red Wings will get a little bit of a break because they are a little banged up. Both Seth Jarvis and Jacob Slavin being one of the best defensive defensemen in the NHL, are on IR and aren't expected to be back until early January. Nikishin, William Carrier, Jordan Martinook also injured, but not expected to be out for too long, so he may play by Saturday. But it's a Carolina Hurricanes team. I mean, you're tied with – that's the crazy thing is you're tied with them for top of the Eastern Conference. So you're right there with them. But this is a team that if you've watched the Carolina Hurricanes in any game for the last 5 years, I mean, that's exactly the team you're going to get. Right. They have the league's fewest shot attempts against at 5-on-5 and one of the most shot attempts for at 5-on-5 because they just have the puck. They just suffocate you. They have the puck and don't let you have it. So you don't expect to be a high-scoring affair.
A Brian Fisher Corsi darling over here.
Well, there were 2 teams in the NHL, Scotty, that drove me insane to watch play.
The Islanders don't play that way anymore, and you've denounced your hatred for them.
Well, they have reformed. They've seen the light.
They've fixed themselves, and they're no longer just super annoying and flawed. And now they are actually rootable.
They got Matthew Schaefer, who's an incredibly dynamic offensive defenseman, and they're like, "Well, we can't just keep playing."
Yeah,
they're like, "We got to change a little bit because
we can't only do this anymore with this guy right on our blue line." Yeah.
And I think maybe Lou Lamoriello not being there anymore helped as well.
Sure.
But Carolina is the same way. Like they just suffocate you, and you'll end up losing the game 1-0, and the shots will be 18-12, and you're going to go, "That was a waste of my time." So hopefully Detroit can change the narrative a little bit and get the win.
At least I don't know if they played tonight, but heading into this preview, they are on a 3-game losing streak.
They lost to the Panthers tonight as we record.
So that I don't know if that puts them at 3 or 4 then. I don't know when the update of the preview I'm looking at is.
3.
So it's 3. So there you go. So yeah, they're on. I mean, they'll be on an L3 going into this game. That's not a bad thing.
And this isn't the only game, Scotty, that we have to preview because the Red Wings then play a second half of a back-to-back on Sunday against the Toronto Maple Leafs,
who just had a big win.
They just had a big win, but they fired their assistant coach, and that's going to fix everything for them.
Yep.
But nonetheless, the Red Wings, listen, the Maple Leafs are down, and I desperately want to kick them while they're down. As a Red Wings fan, they are in last place in the Atlantic Division. They have 37 points. Red Wings have 47 points. You have an opportunity here to really just like put the nail in the coffin there. You've won two of those. You won those 2 matchups at the start of the season back to back. So you already have the season win. Go for the season sweep. Put a nail in that coffin. But this going to be a second half of the back to back. So I understand legs may be tired at that point.
You do get a nice, few day break at least leading up to the back to back, which is something. But
well, and I do believe they'll be playing on the second half of back to back as well because
I'd
they
imagine
play Ottawa.
most teams, honestly, will not maybe most is a stretch, but I'd imagine there's a
you're
lot of
probably
teams
right.
that are playing back to
with the
back
compact schedule. Yeah. Because they play Ottawa the night before. So the good news
you got
here
Christmas
is
break, and then you're now only a month away from Olympic break. So you got a lot of games to play.
well, the Red Wings go on the road and then come home. Toronto's the other way around. They play at home then go on the road. So maybe that's an edge for you if you're Detroit.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard mixed reviews from people on like which of those is better. I think it's literally just like individual preference.
Right. That's what I was going to say. It probably doesn't really even matter that much. Probably just depends on the person.
Yeah.
But anyway, Scotty, I think that about does it. Red Wings,
yeah, man.
First in the Atlantic Division, second or tied for first in the Eastern Conference.
How about that, man?
At Christmas.
Going into our beautiful country's Christmas, and we are in first place. That's wild.
I tell you what, it feels
what a
pretty
win
good.
that was. Like seriously, what an unreal win that was.
I had my own, as you know at least, Scotty. I had my own hockey game at 9:15, and I'm sitting in the locker room getting dressed with HBO Max on the bench to the side of me watching the game, and I see Larkin score the OT winner while sitting in the locker room on my phone. But I still had to come back and like watch the rest of the third period.
Yeah, of course.
Because I was driving.
That's cool though.
The timing couldn't work out better. Saw Larkin score the OT winner, then we go out and we won in overtime ourselves.
Wow, gosh,
just great. A lot of Christmas gifts going around.
It's that time of year, man. 'Tis the season.
And we also, sorry.
No, please.
Sorry. But we really also had a goal disallowed for a kicking motion in our game too.
Nice.
So we were twinning with the Detroit Red Wings, and if you played the tape back, it would look 1-for-1 too, like same.
Well, especially on the blue line, I think those are very similar. I think the Red Wings top pair and whatever pair you're on is they're very, very, very similar.
I'm a right shot D. Moritz Sider's a right shot D.
You guys have similar hair going on.
Maybe not. It's Moritz Sider blows me out of the water when it comes to the lettuce.
He's got a beautiful mane.
But all right, we've been droning on for long enough. We got to send it into the holiday, into the weekend.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. We'll be back with a double game recap on Monday. Stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.